Beyond the Mic with Sean Dillon.
We're joined on the start line by a journalist, writer, and PhD candidate. He's reported from more than 40 countries, and his book, The Liar, How a Double Agent in the CIA Became the Last Honest Man of the Cold War, is now out. We welcome author Benjamin Cunningham.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Benjamin, let's go beyond the mic. Spies are all around the world, doing their bidding for the governments and, in some cases, companies. Why was Carroll the last honest man of the Cold War?
So, obviously trying to be a little witty with the title. I think my my research and both sort of the number of other interviews I did, I was always kind of forced to triangulate between what someone was telling me and other information I had. It didn't really matter if they were Americans, Czechs, ex-CIA, ex-FBI, people either, some people were intentionally trying to mislead me and some people just kind of misremember stuff from the past. I think, so trying to actually find out the truth is really difficult, and, to the point that it's hard to even say if there was one real true version of all these stories. Last thing I would say is that later on in the book, I don't want to give away the ending, but Carl is actually caught to some degree. And the mess he's sort of in at the end of the book, there's at least two other double agents involved. So a Czech that's working for the CIA, a Russian that's working for the CIA, and then Carl, a CIA guy who's working for the Russians. So you kind of have this situation where almost everybody is twisted up in this way where reality is sort of upside down. So I guess, that's kind of the play on words we were trying to get with the title there.
In your book, you describe hedonism, incompetency, and the complex nature of the spy business. Doing all your research, what was the one factor? What shocked you the most?
I wouldn't say it's a fact. I think I went through a lot of archives, right? The old Czechoslovak communist spy agency archives are actually declassified. So I went through something like 30,000 pages of that. What stood out there's all kinds of interesting stuff, of course, hopefully a lot of which is in the book. But what stood out is how bureaucratic a giant organization like that is. I mean, it's people writing reports about stuff, people cutting and pasting from the previous report. And actually, it makes you kind of paranoid that this is really how international affairs and spy agencies are functioning, right? It feels a lot sometimes like, the DMV or a giant insurance company or something like that. It's just this machine. And you can see how this machine could spin out of control, just out of sort of bureaucratic energy.
Now, you've read newly declassified documents, even talked to the coachers. What question are you still wondering about today? I mean, you haven't discovered the right answer to.
I think, Carl and his wife, Hannah, were both they both sort of emigrated to the States posing as refugees. I spoke a lot to Carl and some to Hannah. I would have liked to hear more from Hannah. Hannah was pretty skeptical about talking, a little shyer. I did some interviews with her. But I guess I would like to have, it would just add one more perspective to the story. So it's not, you obviously want to, when you do a book like this, you try to talk to everybody that you can. You find everybody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. But I think it would have been, ideally I would have been able to get her to trust me a bit more, to talk more. It just wasn't possible. She's been through the ringer enough, I think, is probably more the feeling she has, and she doesn't see much of a benefit to talking to someone like me.
Author of The Liar, How a Double Agent in the CIA Became the Last Honest Man of the Cold War, Benjamin Cunningham joins us beyond the mic, and it's time for the Rocky Nate. 8 random questions. All you got to do is answer with the first thing that comes to your mind.
Wow.
There is no pressure. Where's the favorite place in the world for you to cover?
I spent a lot of years in Prague, so I guess that just comes to mind. That was my big experience, yeah.
Benjamin, what's the best moment from your time in Kosovo?
First day that Kosovo declared independence, I took a taxi across the border, and the man, the day before, NATO was guarding the border, and the day that Kosovo declared independence, Kosovar soldiers were at the border checkpoint. I handed the guy at the border checkpoint my American passport. I was riding in a taxi, and the guy didn't open it, and he looked at me and he said, "Have fun." So that's my favorite memory.
I know you like running marathons. Well, do you remember your last time in your last marathon?
I've done 4:10 or so. I did a 4-hour one a while before the pandemic when I sat around drinking beer for 6 months. I did one under 4 hours.
What was the last time you actually went to a bullfight?
I've been to a few. It was before the pandemic, though, 2 years.
Did you win your last Muay Thai fight?
Not a fighter. Sparring. I've do a bit of sparring, mostly with my friends at the club that I train in. So most of them are kind to me. I'm one of the older guys floating around there. So I would say no. If it's a yes or no, it's a no.
What was the last spy novel you read?
I got into a lot of the old school stuff. Len Deighton is a favorite classic spy novelist of mine, British guy. Berlin Game is one he wrote. Kind of a classic 70s and 80s spy novelist, but maybe a little lesser known than John le Carré and kind of has slightly different style.
Time for me to put you to the test, Benjamin. Who's the best actor to play James Bond, in your opinion?
Connery.
Now that you've covered spies, what's the next topic that you want to cover, if it isn't another spy novel?
It is I'm working on something involving bullfighting. Ironically, you asked that question earlier. Kind of a political. Probably can't get too far into the details now because they're not all worked out. But bullfighting related.
It's time for One Big Question with author of The Liar: How a Double Agent in the CIA Became the Last Honest Man of the Cold War, Benjamin Cunningham, beyond the mic. Benjamin, writing about any subject usually means you have passion for it. Are you a spy, or have you ever been approached by a spy?
I am not a spy. I've never knowingly been approached by a spy. I'll say that.
You sure about that?
I can't. I'm not sure about it. No, I'm not sure.
Truth is not singular anymore. You talk in the book about objective truth. How do you find the truth when there's black, white, and gray all over? Well,
it's hard. This was definitely an exercise in sort of that. I think there are things that are true, right? Gravity exists or whatever. When it comes to social situations, though, in which this is involving people, and it is a lot about perspective, And so, my challenge here was to do what I could do to find the closest version to the truth. That involved hearing what one person said, hearing what another person said, comparing that to what was going on, what I knew to be going on historically, finding some detail in the files, using reason and to try and say, is it possible that this is true and this isn't, or things like that. So it's a challenge. I think that's human reason and deduction and things like that. Unfortunately, that's the best thing we got. So the best thing we have to solve those problems.
He thinks Connery is the best Bond, lost his last Muay Thai fight, and we think he's not a spy. He could be. The book is The Liar: How a Double Agent in the CIA Became the Last Honest Man of the Cold War. Benjamin Cunningham, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thanks very much, Sean. Appreciate it.
And that, my friends, is a Beyond the Mic shortcut.